Although not much required for a longer introduction, I would also like to invite the President Global, President Reliance Big Entertainment, Sagarika Ghoshal, to join me. I would also like to now invite Mr. Krisantha Obesekara, past President, current Council Member, formerly DGM Human Resources and Admin of HNB, and presently Vice President, Human Resources Administration and Business Support of Union Bank of Colombo, to join us at the podium. I would also like to invite one who has taken us through the pivotal role of HR in making a culture change in the morning, Mr. Sanjay Muddal. Finally, our very own past president of the IPM and also the current council member of the IPM, formerly DGM Human Resources for Commercial Bank, and presently the management consultant, Mr. Jayantha Jayaratna. Good evening to all of you.
Good evening. Good evening.
First of all, I would like to ask this distinguished panel one question which you all can answer. That is, the US economy is still in tantrums. The unemployment rate is 9.7%, and it is expected to remain like that for the next 1 or 2 years. UK is also in the same boat. How have you seen the economic recession affecting organizations in your respective countries? First, I would like to give the opportunity to the lady. I think it's a courtesy.
Thank you. I think these are the overprivileges we get on the other side of the gender. But I think my experience is rather extremely positive. I think this recession has done 2-3 very nice things for my organization. One is talent, which was very scarce and very expensive. Like very creative, brilliant VFX guy, digital guy, who would be coming in some double-digit salary, was available due to this recession in almost half of his salary. So I think there was some kind of market correction due to this recession in the entire world. So people who were expecting, and I'm sure I have friends who are from the consulting side, they know that when you call for an interview, they will only ask for a business class to and fro and stay in a 5-star, 7-star category hotel, were willing to make their own arrangements and come because everyone needed that right job. So I think that way, the real critical talent was available, and there was some bit of a market correction. Second, which I felt, which was nice due to recession, that most of the Indian companies tried to keep their performers. So the first thing, whoever I spoke to, large companies, they talked about, the HR heads talked about letting go of, if we ever have to let go of some people, then it was only the non-performers, and they tried to keep the performers. So in this, they basically tried to cut flab. So organization restructuring was done in terms of making more leaner and flatter structures so that you're far more productive. Last but not the least, I think it happened in India. I don't know how it was treated here, but we saw a lot of emotional bondage. Like the moment the communication was out that we probably need to cut down on size, people need to move out, I think the entire organization took a joint call on who all should be going, and if they are going, can we network well enough so that they are placed somewhere. I think it only happens in the countries where we are very value-driven and culture-driven. I think this is what recession did to my country. I And I think I'll leave everyone else. Although we heard lots of stories of the other side as well on what recession did to the businesses. We were far more cautious. In the business scenario, I think everyone started to move on a cautious line. So flamboyance was cut out. We were more revenue focused. We wanted to see that we make more and more money and not ensure that people are there. We saw a lot of emotional bondage. We talked about emotion quotient being very high in most of the organizations. So people looked at the people's side in terms of even at the bad time.
So it was time for market corrections and cutting the flab. How was it in Thailand, Dr. Shaw? Because I think that Thailand, the situation is probably slightly different from the reports that I have seen over CNN and other things.
Certainly different, but I mean, just talking a little bit about the title of the conference in terms of motivating economic optimism, I think in Thailand it's a lot harder to talk about economic optimism at the moment, and that's certainly closely related to the events that you've been seeing on television in the past month. I don't think it's possible to separate those events from how Thailand has handled the economic crisis. In the most obvious sense, Thailand suffered because of its dependence on tourism, which is approximately 8% of the economy, and manufacturing. And in both cases, we've seen a lot of layoffs and a lot of impacts of the global economic crisis. But I think more critically, what you've also seen recently has been the exposure of weaknesses in critical institutions. And I don't want to go too much into those, but I'd just like to highlight a couple of points where perhaps there's greater cause for economic optimism in this part of the world, particularly in Sri Lanka, than in Thailand. One is, I think that what you've been seeing on television has been the result of the underlying inequities in Thai society being exposed. In other words, Thailand has relied a lot on a fairly uneducated, fairly compliant workforce. And you've seen investment already going elsewhere. For example, Intel have recently invested $1 billion in a plant in South Vietnam. Why would they choose Vietnam rather than Thailand? You've got to look at factors such as the education system in Thailand that I think has been unprepared for the global crisis. Particularly, there are particular weaknesses in terms of the ability to speak English in Thailand, which has made it peculiarly vulnerable in Southeast Asia. And the other factor that I wanted to focus on was the lack of global skills. There are very few global Thai companies. The companies that have internationalized are the companies that have drawn on, for example, Chinese diaspora networks. But Thai companies remain based in Thailand. They're resolutely unglobal in their outlook. And I think that this has been a serious cause of weakness in the Thai economy's response to the economic crisis.